I'm Angela Brown, a Health Communications Specialist in CDC Center for Preparedness and Response, Division of Emergency Operations. Thank you for joining us for today's EPIC webinar entitled Fundamentals of Emergency Planning for Schools and REMS TA Center. Today we will hear from Bronwyn Roberts and Janelle Hughes from Readiness and Emergency Management for Schools Technical Assistance Center, also known as REMS TA, and Madeline Sullivan with the United States Department of Education's Office of Safe and Supportive Schools. If you do not wish for your participation to be recorded, please exit at this time. You can earn continuing education by completing this webinar. Instructions on how to earn continuing education can be found on our website, emergency.cdc.gov/EPIC. The course access code is EPIC0219 with all letters capitalized. To repeat, the course access code to receive continuing education credit in all caps, EPIC0219. Today's webinar is interactive. To make a comment, click the chat button on your screen and then enter your thoughts. To ask a question, please use the Q&A button. The Q&A session will begin after our presenter has finished. Closed captions are available for this webinar. We are fortunate to have Bronwyn Roberts to share her experience in managing large and technical assistance projects and conducting quantitative and qualitative evaluations. She has played a key role in the Office of Safe and Supportive Schools REMS TA Center for 12 of the 15 years the center has been in existence, serving as project director for 10 of those years. We also have Janelle Hughes with us to share her experience representing the United States Department of Education and REMS TA Center at both virtual and live public-facing events, focusing on a variety of topics. Finally, our last presenter, Madeline Sullivan, will share her experience working on federal, state, and local school safety, security, emergency management, and preparedness since the Department of Education initiated its program, including starting the REMS TA Center. Madeline, please begin. She's talking, but nothing's happening.
Madeline, we're not hearing your audio.
Hi there, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. So just wanted to say a big thank you to the team EPIC. We really love collaborating with you, and thank you for inviting us today. And then before we begin, we also wanted to remind everyone today that our webinar today is a general overview of the planning process and our related resources. We're not going to be addressing any particular hazard or threat, and instead the principles we're going to discuss today apply to many types of public health events, including infectious disease outbreaks. And if there ever were a hazard or threat of concern to all schools, the Department of Education, or ED, would collaborate with its federal partners, such as EPIC and other offices at CDC, and then with our Readiness and Emergency Management for Schools Technical Assistance Center, or REMS, to help disseminate any appropriate and relevant information, directives, and resources, including any guidance from CDC. So we encourage you to follow us on Twitter and sign up for our listserv, and you'll be able to stay current with that and any new services that we develop. So here at ED's Office of Safe and Supportive Schools, we administer and collaborate with the REMS TA Center. You likely know them as REMS, but the REMS is designed to serve two critical functions, both of which are aimed at helping education agencies continually enhance their school safety programs along that continuum of school safety. So think school safety, security, emergency management, and ideally preparedness. So it's important to note too that when we talk about school preparedness, we're also referring to all of those actions that schools and their partners take every day to keep schools safe before, during, and after possible emergencies. That includes prevention and mitigation, protection, response, and recovery. So this first function we serve is to build that capacity of schools, school districts, institutions of higher education, as well as all of their community partners with shared school safety responsibilities at that local, state, and federal level. We do this in collaboration with our partners, and we respond to the needs of the very practitioners that we support. So the second is that we also serve as the School Safety Center for the nation, meaning we provide services on all aspects of school safety and preparedness, including planning, to help educational entities and their partners create safe schools. And then although we provide a wide array of services and resources, our more popular services include developing and disseminating school-centered materials and resources, as well as developing customizable interactive tools such as software and mobile apps, as well as providing training and technical assistance before, during, and after possible emergencies. So you can access the majority of our services and resources on our website, rems.ed.gov. And then one thing that's very important to us via our website is only one option, or one of the options we provide, but we promote collaboration and communication, which is why we collaborate on most everything we do. So we make similar opportunities for you through our engagement activities, as well as our information sharing tools. Two of them you can find on our website. One is the Communities of Practice, and the other is our Toolbox. And you're going to hear lots more about both of them soon. So next slide, please. Great. A key to school safety planning is using a very wide lens, or what we call using that all hazards approach. And so while many of the same partners are going to be at the table, this approach is going to help ensure a comprehensive plan is developed. And in working together on a broad topic, you're going to be identifying multiple common functions that can be addressed to support a wide variety of hazards and threats. So for example, communications, reunification, and even continuity. So we develop resources and tools and trainings to meet the diverse needs of schools or school systems around the nation. And then we provide that necessary information common to all, as well as those key considerations that are necessary for customization. So, So then another thing is there's going to be times where you need to be working, or it's just as important that you're working with your partners at the state or local level. We have multiple activities that facilitate that, and we always welcome you to reach out so that we can facilitate it as well, and then provide direct technical assistance along the way as you're working with them. And if something terrible were to happen, please know we're here. Please reach out. We're here to provide you direct support in the aftermath of an emergency as well. So now, one of the things that we do that is most valuable, I believe, is that we share strategies for protecting that whole school community before, during, and after. And so in consideration of a public health emergency, we're going to be sharing strategies on a variety of topics, such as social distancing, communication, and continuity. And one of the most powerful strategies is to remember that the most effective school safety builds upon a school's everyday people, practices, and programs. So using social distancing as an example, when you have this plan, a framework in place in advance that really promotes those everyday good health hygiene practices, and is ready to implement some social distancing strategies, you'll be more ready in the event that you need them. And we encourage you to think about frameworks that already exist. So thinking about recess, it's not uncommon that schools will have to require an indoor recess and students stay in their classroom in the event of poor weather or there's something happening in the cafeteria. So whatever policies and steps you take to bring this to life, you're going to mimic these and then further customize them if you're going to be using them as a social mitigation strategy in the event of an outbreak. Similarly, it's not uncommon that school systems will have a half day so that they can accommodate those parent and family teacher conferences. And this is a really powerful strategy that's been used in the past as well. So a school might have half of the school attend during the half-day session in the morning and a second in the afternoon. So encourage you to always remember to start with what you already do and do well every day, and think about how you can enhance that to further protect your schools and be ready in the event if something were to happen. So thank you. Next slide, please. So, like I was saying earlier, that we offer a variety of opportunities and manners to engage with us and to engage with your colleagues in the field. So were you aware of us, the REMS TA Center, before this webinar? And if yes, how did you learn of us? Was it through just searching on the web? Did you receive one of our newsletters, our quarterly newsletters, or maybe happen along one of our tweets, or maybe you were recommended? We were recommended to you by one of your colleagues or leadership. Oh, I'm seeing we have some folks. So Stephen says he learned of it through the newsletters. Tony learned of it through the CDC website, one of our great partners. And Aubrey found it through a Google search. That's wonderful. I'm hoping that following this webinar that you will, oh, someone says they've attended several of our trainings. That's wonderful. I'm hoping that following this webinar that you will share some of our materials and begin by following us on Twitter and sending us an email at info@remstacenter.org, and we'll put you on our mailing list. So thank you. Bronwyn?
Thanks, Madeline. Fantastic. Next slide, please. Wonderful. Well, thanks everybody for having us today. Thank you to our partners at CDC. We're so excited to be able to share information on the REMS TA Center. And as Madeline mentioned, our website is actually the best place to start to access all of our resources. We call it our one-stop shop for school emergency planning practitioners. And you'll be able to find everything that we discussed today on our website. We do update the content regularly, so we encourage you to check back at least monthly to see what's new. You can see if you go there that we have the sliding carousel on the homepage, and there we promote recently released resources, national campaigns, and that really timely information. Underneath the carousel, you can find upcoming events that you can participate in. So we saw that some of you have attended some of those in the past, which is fantastic. You can look there to see what is coming up in the future too, to see if we're going to be in your area. We also have information on webinars, web chats that are coming up, and important awareness days. We also offer quick links to some of our most popular pages on the website. So if you're not sure where to start, that's a great place to go. We also make a note to provide access on our homepage to important guidance documents on school safety topics. And in the next few slides, I'm going to talk about what those are and why they're important. Next slide, please. So in 2013, the U.S. Department of Education worked with the U.S. Departments of Homeland Security, Justice, and Health and Human Services, as well as the Federal Emergency Management Agency and Federal Bureau of Investigation, a total of 6 federal agencies, to author the Guide for Developing High-Quality School Emergency Operations Plans. And this school guide was based on years of emergency management planning work by the federal government. Then in 2019, to further support the EOP development process for schools and districts, ED's Office of Safe and Supportive Schools, with representatives from U.S. Departments of Health and Human Services, Homeland Security, and Justice, then created the role of districts in supporting schools in the development of high-quality emergency operations plans, known as the District Guide. And this District Guide serves as a complement to the school guide and provides information that can help school districts in fulfilling both their individual and shared emergency planning responsibilities in all hazards school EOP development. Core planning teams within school districts can use the guide to inform the development of local policies and procedures related to school EOP development. Next slide, please. So both guides reflect the national preparedness system Madeline mentioned earlier and provide information for continually building a school safety, security, emergency management, and preparedness capacity in the 5 mission areas. You can see on your screen there, we have them listed: prevention, mitigation, protection, response, and recovery. And you'll hear those again and again and see those again and again if you go to our website. And although these mission areas generally align with the 3 timeframes associated with an incident, before, during, and after, they are all generally interconnected. The majority of prevention, mitigation, and protection activities generally occur before an incident, although these 3 mission areas have ongoing activities that can occur throughout an incident too. And response activities occur during an incident, and recovery activities can begin during an incident and occur after an incident. Schools can take steps to build capacity for response and recovery before an incident occurs as well. And some of the most critical mitigation work is actually done during and after incidents. Next slide. So the guides I mentioned present this 6-step planning process for developing and revising a comprehensive all-hazard school emergency operations plans, or EOP. And those of you that are familiar with the Community Preparedness Guide, or CPG 101, will recognize that 6-step planning process. And it's been modified to better meet the needs of schools and school districts with their community partners. So these steps are sequenced to support a collaborative process, which invites multiple perspectives for information gathering, prioritizing, goal setting, execution of specific activities, and evaluation. This process is intended to be cyclical and ongoing. The steps are supported also by applying school-specific planning principles, like ensuring that plans provide for the whole school community at all times in all settings. For example, this can mean that a school EOP will address the in-person and virtual teaching and learning settings, non-classroom settings, and even off-site settings for field trips or athletic events. At each step, planners should also consider the access and functional needs of students, staff, and visitors, including families. Next slide. And while the guides don't prescribe an overall school EOP format, instead they present one possible format for consideration. That's what you see on your screen. It's called a traditional format, and it includes a basic plan section, a functional annexes section, and a threat and hazard specific annexes section. Districts, schools, and partners are encouraged to choose the format that is most user-friendly and meets their needs. But the guides talk about this just as an example of a potential format. So this basic plan section, that's where you have an overview of the school's approach to emergency operations presented. The functional annexes section uses the before, during, and after approach we've been talking about, and details the goals, objectives, and courses of action for common functions that apply across multiple threats or hazards, such as evacuation, communications, and reunification. And then similarly, the threat and hazard specific annexes section specifies the goals, objectives, and courses of action that a school will follow to address a particular type of threat or hazard, such as a hurricane or an active shooter situation. Next slide, please. And then our website houses these guides in a couple different formats. So we do have an HTML version of the school guide that you could find useful to explore each step in the planning process, or if you want to go to specific steps as you're progressing through a year of planning with your team, you can easily go back and forth and navigate the guide in that manner. All you have to do is go to guidance on our website, and then the K-12 Emergency Management Planning section to access what we call the School Guide at a Glance section. We don't have a version of at a glance for the district guide yet, but that is coming this year. And then of course we have both a PDF version of both guides in their entirety on the website. Next slide. So this is now our second poll question. We were hoping to get some information from you. You know, I just talked about a couple different of these federally aligned tools to help with EOP planning efforts. And we were just wondering, you know, are there any state, local, or federal tools that you currently use to support overall emergency preparedness and safety efforts? And if you can complete the poll as well as type in what you currently use, that'd be great to hear. I see somebody's mentioning the use of HSEEP for exercises. Absolutely, that's a great idea, and we definitely recommend the use of that. CDC material for pandemic planning, absolutely, you know where to go. FEMA, of course. And that's why we're really excited these guidance documents bring together the contributions of 6 federal agencies. New York State Police, fantastic. Yes, we've done some great work with New York. Also Massachusetts, fantastic. This is great to see. We really aim to ensure that our resources are available, that you can easily you know, combine and meld what you are planning to do at the local level as well. That's our goal. Fantastic. Okay, well, thanks everybody. And with that, I will send it over to Janelle to talk a little bit more about some of our resources.
Thank you so much, Bronwyn. One thing emphasized throughout the guide and illustrated by your participation in this webinar is the importance of collaboration with partners outside of the school building. So relationship building is one of the most important elements of a well-managed response, and those relationships should be cultivated before an emergency happens. When key stakeholders who play an integral role during response and recovery are ready in advance and aware of and trained on their responsibilities, it can reduce anxiety and stress, ensure all emergency functions that may require activation are considered, and also quicken the pace with which schools can resume operations and continue teaching and learning. In addition, when schools remain in consistent contact with key stakeholders who support response and recovery, it can help inform updates to EOPs after events take place. As it is always said by experienced practitioners, you never want to be making introductions with critical response partners while an emergency is taking place. The guides recommend that education agencies and their planning partners develop goals and objectives during step 3 of the planning process. On the screen, you will see a sample scenario that presents the threat of a fire, hazard, or emergency. So let's take a moment to explore how partners might support schools with the before, during, and after goals and objectives as outlined here. So before a fire, schools will need to work to prevent the fire from occurring. And this might require fire prevention training from the local fire department, access to fireproof containers, or funds to purchase them from state or district partners, as well as the need for support from facilities management experts and state partners to ensure that buildings are compliant with OSHA and other state and local laws. Next slide. Our mission is always to be ready to support education agencies and their community partners with the various threats and hazards that they may face. Therefore, a significant part of planning for us involves remaining informed on current research, trends, and legislation, as well as continually producing resources, publications, and tools that can support schools and institutions of higher education in the event an emergency occurs for which we can provide support. And so the main reason that we remain focused on that all hazards and all threats approach is because the universe of potential emergencies that education agencies may face is so vast, yet is also unique for every locality. And since we support communities across the nation, our repository of information and resources must meet that extent and the diversity of need. And so if you look on the screen, we ensure that the planning process when working with partners takes into account that wide range of potential threats and hazards that may impact the school community. So that includes adversarial and human-caused threats, biological hazards, natural hazards, as well as technological hazards. Next slide. Our topic-specific resources hub, which lives on our website, contains resources from not only the REMS TA Center and the U.S. Department of Education, but also federal agency partners on more than 20 topics that are aligned with the federal guides that we've been discussing today. These resources have all been vetted by REMS TA Center and Department of Education staff, and there are hundreds of resources available, and they're sorted into relevant categories. We have a section specifically related to, again, those threats and hazards that we just discussed, as well as emergency management functions. And so those might include a variety of functions that you think about that will need to be activated in the event of emergency. So that's accounting for all persons, communications and warning, lockdown, in the context of the work that CDC does, public health and medical health, and also behavioral health. And we also have resources that highlight those planning basics and principles that are so critical. And we really encourage you to explore these pages and share what you find with your colleagues as well. Next slide. We've also created several additional resources to support school emergency preparedness planning. One of our favorite resources that we're always excited to share about is our state map of emergency management resources. And it's a section of our website that contains state-specific information and mandates related to school safety. We also have a toolbox of practitioner-created tools and documents from the field, and it currently houses more than 300 resources. And to make it easier for you to find what you need, we recently upgraded our toolbox last year to contain a more filterable search engine. So this allows you to search by keyword, audience, language, because we also accept resources in a variety of languages, and you can search those resources by topic area, file format, as well as type. So again, we encourage you to explore the toolbox, and if you'd like to share some of the resources that you just mentioned that you've used in the previous poll, we would love to take a look at those and see how they can be of support to additional practitioners in the field. Next slide. We also write in collaboration with our partners a variety of publications that can be read online or downloaded and printed for sharing. For example, fact sheets that explore key topics in school and higher ed preparedness, as well as safety, security, and emergency management. And they're all, again, based on research that we've conducted. Each topic that you see on the screen is featured in a separate fact sheet. And just to name a few that, again, that includes fact sheets on flooding, wildfire, preparing for opioid-related emergencies, school culture and climate, cybersecurity, all of the mission areas that we talked about, sextortion and human trafficking, developing continuity of operations plans, and so much more. So please, when you take a moment, please feel free to go to our publications page and download those resources for viewing and for sharing. Next slide. The federal guidance recommends that high-quality emergency operations plans include threat and hazard specific, as well as functional annexes. So these are sections of the plan that specify those policies and procedures, as well as responsibilities and actions that need to take place before, during, and after an emergency event. So while it is important that planning teams develop their own EOPs as they work through the 6-step planning process with their community partners, and ultimately decide how their annexes are structured based on their work together, the REMS TA Center has created sample annexes that may be useful in helping to understand what the structure and content of an annex may include. So each sample annex is formatted slightly different, and it reflects a very different fictional school. Sample annexes that we've already created are displayed on the screen, and it includes shelter in place, lockdown, family reunification, and earthquake. And coming soon, we have an annex that's also focusing on hazardous materials as well as power outages. Next slide. So now that we've shared a little bit more, excuse me, let's take a moment for another quick poll. We also like to get a sense of whether our virtual participants are currently supporting education agencies with EOP development and planning, and how. So if you don't mind sharing whether you are currently supporting education agencies with EOP development and planning. And then if you can just add in the chat whether or not that's for the K-12 or the higher ed audience, and then provide a bit more detail on how you're supporting them as well. Okay, so I see higher education. I see a law enforcement rep on the school safety team. K-12 support in Maryland. Hi, that's my home state, so it's happy to see you here. Head Start and early Head Start childcare programs, awesome. SAMHSA grant for school mental health. Oh wow, I see that your K-12 is using the REMS format for our EOP, awesome. Oh, still investigating what we have in place and what we may need. You're in the best place for that then. Awesome, you sit on the safety board, that's great news. Head nurse. It's great to see so many different age groups represented. So I've seen early childhood, K-12, as well as higher ed. I also see a representative from the local Office of Emergency Management. It's great. Oh, Callo, yes, they're one of our key partners. Great to see you guys here. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating. And so it's great to see that most of the participants on today's webinar are supporting education agencies with EOP development and planning. And we just want to thank you so much for all the work that you do to support the field. And just remember that we are here to help you as you help those LEAs and SEAs. So thank you so much. And I'm going to turn things back to Bronwyn. Bronwyn?
Thanks, Janelle. Next slide, please. Thanks. So we do have a number of interactive tools that assist practitioners in writing plans, evaluating plans, and conducting site assessments. All of our tools are intended to teach important federal guidance content as well as to produce useful outcomes such as a site assessment report. So we're hoping that you learn while you use them as well as get a helpful output. Our tool called EOP Assess, for example, it's a great tool to use during step 1 of the 6-step planning process when you're forming a collaborative planning team. All of your planning team members can go through the online assessment to help create a common understanding and to make sure that you're all using the same terminology. EOP Assist is our plan generating software application that walks users through the 6-step planning process to create a downloadable and customized emergency operations plan that also aligns with federal recommendations. We also have EOP Evaluate, which can be used to evaluate an existing plan and help identify areas of improvement. And then Site Assess is a mobile app that we developed that you can use to document conditions at your site before a disaster occurs. We have the ability in this mobile app to capture photos, which is particularly useful and can help to give proof if you need to file insurance claims or request disaster recovery funding. And so any of these tools can also help in that regard and help to provide evidence to whether it's your insurance agency, your school leadership, school board, to show that you are really trying to actively address and improve your school safety. Over time, it can actually help to document improvement as well. For example, Site Assess has an Excel worksheet output, and that can be used to compare and to analyze data across school buildings and across time. Next slide. So training on emergency plans and response procedures is an important component in the 6-step planning process and effective emergency management program as well. Training builds capacity, increases knowledge, promotes buy-in, and enhances your comprehensive approach before, during, and after an incident. So your planning team should consider some of these following populations and what they might be needing to be trained on. Students, for example, may need to be trained on how to respond to specific emergencies and how to report a concern about another student. Your educators and staff will need to know their role within the incident command system, for example. You might want to train parents and caregivers on how to prepare their own households for an emergency. First responders obviously need to know the layout of buildings, entry points, and where hazardous materials are stored. And other partners, such as community organizations, for example, might need to know how to report a student of concern. It's also important to remember to provide training for those who have disabilities or access and functional needs, including those whose primary language is not English. Next slide, please. And so now we wanted to ask you, how would you describe your role in supporting the whole school community or individual school safety? So we talked a lot about the resources that we have and how they are, constructed to help with different populations and different roles. So we're just curious to know, what is your role in this? And if you don't work for a school system or a student or family member or are a partner with a shared set of responsibilities, we would love to hear more about it by typing into the chat as well, which some of you are already doing. Thank you. Looks like we have safety director for K-12 districts. Folks from Montana, we've had a great time working with Montana over the years. They were one of our former grantees. School resource officer, school nurse, fantastic. Health department, emergency management. Wonderful, we love seeing all of our community partners present. This is wonderful. Title 4A, we're also familiar with, has a safety component as well. That's fantastic. Firefighter, paramedic, pediatricians. This is wonderful. It's really exciting to see such a diverse group here. Thanks, everybody. All right, we'll go to the next slide. You can continue to share those roles. It's wonderful to see. Thank you. So we also have a variety of training topics and modalities that can help you to supplement the training needs of your programs. I'm going to talk about a little bit in more detail on these and how you can access them. Next slide, please. So we have a in-person training program known as Trainings by Request, and this is where we deliver a training on-site to an educational entity. We bring subject matter expert trainers and a REMS staff person to the site to deliver the content. And this is what you can see on the screen is our current portfolio of training topics. We do offer trainings in both a train the educator and also train the trainer format in some of them. So we have a Developing Emergency Operations K-12 101 training. This is a 4-hour overview of the 6-step planning process that we've mentioned multiple times today, as well as key considerations for creating, revising, or enhancing school EOPs. And this is one that we do offer both in a train the trainer and train the educator format. We also have one on addressing and preventing adult sexual misconduct. This is our newest training. It is a day-long opportunity to learn about and think about creating comprehensive policies and procedures for preventing and addressing adult sexual misconduct in schools. Unfortunately, prevalent topic of concern today. We also have behavioral threat assessment training. This is actually our most in-demand training. And this is where we talk about preventing and addressing behavioral threat assessment. So this is something that we have a lot of interest in, obviously. And so we have this training to support that, as well as a lot of supplementary resources on our website. We also have training on resilience strategies for educators. And this is our day-long training on focusing on caregivers in schools and school districts, and thinking about compassion fatigue and being able to help those who are caring for others recognize their own need for self-care, whether an emergency hasn't occurred or not in the community. And we do have that one in both the train the trainer and train the educator format as well. And then we also offer an earthquake preparedness for schools training on how school districts and schools can better prepare for an earthquake. Next slide, please. In addition to our in-person trainings, we offer online opportunities to expand your knowledge of school emergency management topics. For example, we regularly host webinars like this one, and I was excited to see many of you have attended those. Thank you. We feature experts in the field, and we have all of our webinars available, archived on our website to access at any time. Most of them are about an hour in length, and you're able to access a copy of the presentation, supplemental resource lists, and other online materials that can enhance the key learning objectives. We currently have over 50 available in archive on our website. Some of our recent topics include the role of school resource officers in school safety. I know we had a school resource officer here. Managing anniversaries and memorial events, the impacts of lead exposure on learning, and also trauma-informed care for schools, a really important topic right now. We encourage you to go and look and search and find what best fits your needs. We now have a search function on that page too to help really hone in on the content that you need. At the top of the page, you'll also see if we have an upcoming scheduled webinar. You can click on register now to sign up and attend. And we typically host these on a monthly basis. So this information will rotate through as we are updating it. Next slide, please. We also have specialized training packages that cover the topics that you see on your screen. These are packages of materials, including a PowerPoint, resource list, and sometimes a tabletop exercise as well. And these can be used to self-teach or instruct others in a professional development setting. Soon we will be adding some topics to these as well, as like creating a memorandum of understanding and managing and addressing adult sexual misconduct. Next slide, please. We also offer several online courses based on best practices from the federal government on school emergency operations plan development. Topics include a foundational course that provides users with a chance to learn about all aspects of emergency operations plan development. Again, this is the information that we shared about the 6-step planning process. This is all included in one of these courses. This includes information on forming a collaborative planning team, conducting assessments, and plan review, implementation, and maintenance. And then we also have, as you can see, 5 advanced topics. These are a little bit of a shorter course, and these have information on other important elements of emergency management planning and focus on school EOPs in depth. So you can see there's developing a continuity of operations annex, planning for large events, and other topics like that. And so with that, I will turn it back to Janelle so she can tell you about even more of our resources.
Thank you so much, Bronwyn. Along with the resources that Bronwyn just shared, We also maintain a toll-free phone line and email so that we can hear from you. Again, we're here to serve you. So we have staff available via email and phone to respond to your direct requests for technical assistance on a variety of topics, from questions about registering for a webinar or scheduling a training event to topical inquiries about new issues in emergency management and preparedness. Just remember, again, that we're always here to help you in your school safety needs. Some of the recent TA topics for which we've provided support include general planning for active shooter situations, keeping young children calm in an active shooter situation, understanding run, hide, fight for individuals with disabilities, as well as ensuring access and functional needs are integrated into overall planning. Next slide. We also maintain a community of practice, which is a private password protected area of our website that is for practitioners like yourselves to engage with one another in discussion. So we encourage you to take advantage of this private space and to create a community huddle for your planning team at the local, regional, or state level. In the past, we have created a community huddle for charter school superintendents in the state of Texas to share information with their peers in support of a peer-to-peer networking group. We've also created community huddles for Hurricane Harvey peer-to-peer mentoring group so that we can discuss and share lessons learned, challenges, and resources related to Hurricane Harvey and previous and future emergencies with peers in school administration. So in order to really maximize your membership and get in the habit of using the community of practice as your primary sharing tool with your colleagues across the nation, we invite you to take a moment today to join and then to get into the practice of logging in on a daily basis. Build the COP into your routine and don't be afraid to ask your peers questions and to share your thoughts. It's exactly why we designed the space. So the more you engage, the more everyone will get out of this tool. Next slide. Our Emergency Management Virtual Toolkit is another tool that you can use to populate your own website with school safety content. It contains the latest federal school emergency management training and technical assistance resources and information for schools, and it's divided into 3 sections: developing high-quality EOPs, engaging youth and the school community, and connecting with other emergency management practitioners. And we're actually in the process of updating it again this year. So we developed this resource-based toolkit for state education agencies, state school safety centers, regional education agencies, school districts, and schools, so that they can quickly and easily disseminate current information on school emergency management to their constituents. So to get started with this toolkit, you just have to visit our website, register to download it onto your website, and you'll receive instructions for installation in your confirmation email. Additionally, we hosted a webinar focused specifically on this toolkit and its installation process. So you can view that at any time, and we encourage you to check that out for more information. And as always, you can reach out to us if you need support as you download that tool and any others on our site. Next slide. Another great way for you to engage with us is via Twitter. Our handle is REMS TA Center, and we post daily to promote resources and engage in discussions on school safety and higher ed safety topics. Additionally, we host Twitter chats on predetermined themes. We do this because we really, again, we want to hear from you, and we want to make sure that you chime in and ask and answer questions that we pose. We typically host webinars. We host web chats after our webinars, and we're going to be hosting a REMS chat with an expert next week on higher ed campus safety. So again, we encourage you to follow us and to stay tuned for our chat with REMS chats, our REMS chat with an expert chats, as well as to check out where we are in the field. If you follow our REMS on the Road hashtag, you'll be able to track trainings that we are hosting throughout the country, as well as conferences that we are attending across the nation. This week, we're actually in attendance at the National Association of School Psychologists annual conference. So if you or any of your partners are there, we encourage you to stop by and say hello to our colleagues as well. And again, please use the REMS on the Road hashtag if you are attending a REMS training or just see us at an event and want to stop by and say hello. Next slide. So before we end, we just want to leave you with a few action steps to consider, and to remember that school preparedness is really not a one and done activity. It is an evolving field that requires ongoing learning like anything else. Not only do the types of emergencies we face continue to evolve, but the way in which we respond and recover from them does as well. Emergency management is a growing and developing field, and in staying abreast of these changes, both locally and nationally, we can all become better prepared for what's ahead, and even the inevitable unknown. So just a few action items again. Encourage your colleagues to consider how they will and can support education agencies before, during, and after emergencies. Participate in planning efforts hosted by education agencies to support whole school community preparedness. Increase the capacity of schools to respond by sharing information with each other and those key stakeholders who support school and campus safety efforts. And also consider how you and your agency can take steps to ensure that schools across the country are prepared to respond to the public, medical, and mental health impacts of local, state, and national emergencies. Next slide. And with that, we thank you so much for joining us today. Please remember again that you can connect with the REMS TA Center in a variety of ways, including our toll-free phone line and email, info@remstacenter.org. And again, be sure to follow us on Twitter for daily updates and activities. And thank you so much for your time today. This does conclude our webinar.
Thank you, Janelle. We will now transition to our Q&A session. Jonathan, can you read the first question, please?
I can. So this is a long question. I'm going to read the second half. It's from an anonymous attendee who asks, is there any thinking as to coming up with templates or software specifically geared to helping these very small school districts, so like less than 500 students, to help them better meet the necessary requirements to better protect students and staff?
Well, I can start. I had the chance to read this full question. Thank you for asking it. We definitely are, very sensitive to the fact that, a lot of districts and schools out there do not have the resources to be able to devote to a full-time staff person, a dedicated staff person, and quite often, emergency management, emergency planning is a shared responsibility. While the person is doing likely a bunch of other things. We completely understand this. And it's a common problem, not just for small districts, but also large as well. And so that's one good thing. I know we had a question about whether our resources are for free, and they are. So what we try to do is to create tools and resources that can really help you to, if you have that limitation, to be able to do things faster and do things easier and to understand what things to do. I talked about, we have that plan generation software. So that's something that you can use to actually walk through and create your own plan. And we try to, as I said, teach information, during the tool, as you're using the tools, to be able to understand the process better while also producing something at the end. Janelle, Madeline, do you want to add?
Yes, I love to add. That was an excellent answer, Bronwyn, and yes, we're all very sensitive to that. Another thing I'm always encouraging folks is that we spoke earlier about the wide lens, the all hazards approach, and we spoke about building off of everyday people and practices. There are so many things that everybody in the school does every day, where if we just add an extra consideration or have one conversation more, we are also helping build that capacity in school safety. So we do attendance every day. What would it be? How does that process relate to accounting for all persons when we evacuate a school building? Schools do reunification twice a day. You are experts across the community. Now let's think about how we would modify that a tiny bit. And so those are some key activities that already support you. And that hopefully demonstrates to you a number of additional people that you can work with to help with those plans. Another one that I think everyone should consider are the existing groups in schools that already exist to support multi-tiered interventions and supports, as well as the teams that that look to support a student and identify maybe whether or not they are eligible to receive services. These two groups are experts in behavior and communication assessment. And so if they were to look through that wider lens and consider additional possibilities when they're doing all of their analysis and planning, it can help serve that role of the threat assessment team. And most of the expertise is right there, and you just need a little extra training. So I encourage you to take a look at everything everyone in schools are already doing for teaching and learning. And then we all know how much you do to keep kids safe all day and every day. Sometimes when you formalize it or write it down, and you can better organize, identify those commonalities and grow from there. And then also think about who you have already and what their expertise is and how they can contribute.
Thank you for that. Our next question comes from Stow, who asks, what information or resources does REMS have specific to planning for students with disabilities?
I can answer that question. We have created a variety of resources specific to integrating the needs of individuals with access and functional needs, as well as disabilities, into school EOP planning. And as soon as I finish speaking, I'll actually place a few hyperlinks into the chat for support. But we really do encourage you to visit our website and our topic-specific resources section. Via that section, we have organized everything into topic areas that I think it's going to really make it a little bit easier for you to find all of the related resources that you need there. So within that section, we actually have a page that's specifically related to access and functional needs. And again, I'm just gonna type that into the chat right now, but we have webinars, fact sheets, resources in a variety of formats to support your needs around that topical area. And so I've just placed the topic-specific resources link in the chat, and I'll also share a direct link to the webinar for support as well. Madeline, did you have anything to add?
I think you're on mute, Madeline.
Thank you. Yes. Again, this is a powerful opportunity to go to the very people in the building that work on this topic every day, most importantly, the students. So many of the accommodations and modifications they use to fully access the general education environment, they can be transformed or an excellent starting point for your emergency effort. So once again, begin with the people, those everyday people and practices, and you are much further along than you ever knew.
Thank you. The next question comes from Daniel Hahn. I think this will probably be for Madeline. What model is the behavioral threat assessment training based on?
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you very much. There's been a lot of talk about threat assessment recently, so this is actually a very topical question and important one. So years ago, the Department of Education, the U.S. Secret Service, and the FBI collaborated on a very comprehensive, long-term, rigorous research study of 39 school shootings that had taken place in the past 30 years. This was a rigorous research study that included interviews with both the school shooter and the bystanders, folks who knew about it in advance, and their teachers and families as applicable, as well as review of records and such. And from this, they found that there is no profile. However, there were 10 common features and characteristics of all of these school shooters. From this, they worked to modify the threat assessment model used by the Secret Service and customize it to schools. And so there's never been another study that was rigorous research. There's been review of open source materials and such, and anecdotal material, but this is the only rigorous study. So whatever model someone chooses, make sure it's based off of the actual research. And then furthermore, there's a number of models out there. Never let any of them exhaust the organic conversations that will stem from considering those 10 findings. So if it was about what is, I don't remember the specific question, is it which one we recommend? If that's the case, we're going to say, I'm going to tell you I recommend the REMS TA Center model and training, and to use that as a base and to further customize it to meet the needs of your school community, including your local mental health agency and law enforcement agency, because they're going to need to be a part of that process. Again, it's a shared responsibility, and so you want to take that shared approach. And so with that, if you go to our website and you look under trainings, we have in-person trainings and we have online trainings as well. And then and that all stems from that Secret Service, U.S. Department of Education and Federal Bureau of Investigation Collaborative that was conducted over a period of 3 years from 2001 to 2003, and it was called the Safe School Initiative. So thank you. And Bronwyn or Janelle, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, that was a great summary. Thank you, Madeline. And so for the training that we offer, we did consider the models that are common in the field and the ones that are most frequently referenced, like Salem-Kaiser, the Virginia model. And what we did, instead of, going through and, as Madeline said, recommending one, we considered sort of a canvas of the field of the most common ones out there and then pulled out what common elements are most important. So that is what we speak to in the training itself, is these are the kinds of things that you should consider when creating your own.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to reference a comment that was made actually in the chat section. It was from Paul, who said, "Many schools I have been to do not plan on extended or foul weather evacuations. And another shortcoming has been emergencies on school buses." And the question that would come from this is, how specific can your planning get?
I can start by answering that, Bronwyn. I think planning can and should be as specific as possible. And when conducting planning, you want to think first of all about the threat or hazard, and then you want to think about all of those emergency functions that are going to need to be activated in the event an emergency occurs. And so when we talked earlier about the recommendations outlined in the Guide for Developing High Quality School Emergency Operations Plans, they recommend the creation of threat and hazard specific annexes, as well as functional annexes. So in the context of school transportation safety, we would recommend that an actual annex is developed specific to that, and that outlines those goals and objectives, courses of actions, and roles and responsibilities specific to school transportation safety. And then we would also encourage you to think about those functional annexes and which ones might need to be activated and how perhaps they would need to be updated to take into account those action steps that will need to take place in the event of a school transportation emergency or another emergency. So we really do encourage you to look at it from a holistic perspective. Bronwyn, Madeline, anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think that was perfect. Just exactly what you said, that the guidance and the 6-step planning process is really designed to be able to, when you work through the courses of action, think through all the specifics. So certainly from basic level to the most complex situations, we want you to be ready.
Yeah, and then I'm also thinking about our school planning principles, so all settings, all times, and we want to use that scenario-based planning. So just like in education with our curriculum development, when we do our instruction and guided practice and assessment, we want to we want to triangulate from our plans to our training and our exercises. And then remember that this is an iterative process, and those training and exercises are also going to help you further detail it or consider more what-ifs when you're doing that scenario-based planning. So, yep, I just use the planning principles, use the 6 steps, work with your partners, and remember you don't do it all overnight, and be open to reviewing it with your partners too. And even through our tools, it makes the collaboration much easier. Sometimes if you're very familiar with one another's points of view and you've been working together, you can just do a little bit online, independent, and wait for feedback and such.
We'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. We have actually gone over our time. Just a reminder, today's presentation has been recorded and you can earn continuing education for your participation. Please follow the instructions found on emergency.cdc.gov/EPIC. The course access code is EPIC0219 with all capital letters. Madeline, Brownwin, and Janelle, we thank you for your time today in presenting this webinar.
Thank you.